This movie starts showing us how the supposed asteroid that was going to end the life of the dinosaurs, in the end, did not crash into the Earth, allowing these species of animals not to become extinct and still continue to live millions of years later. After that, we meet a dinosaur named Henry, who lives on a farm near the mountains with his wife, with whom he is anxiously awaiting the birth of their children. Of the 3 eggs they have, we see that one is much bigger than the others, but in spite of that, a tiny dinosaur is born. And they baptize him with the name of Arlo, who, unlike his 2 brothers, is much smaller. On this way, he grows up to be such a shy and fearful animal that he can't even feed the chickens, since he always ends up running away like a coward. After this, the fearful dinosaur goes to his parents, who have just built a huge basket made of rocks to protect the food from the crops. Then, as a reward for their efforts, both dinosaurs leave their footprints marked on the stones of the basket. When the little ones see them, they want to do the same, but Henry forbids them, telling them that they must earn their marks by making an effort and doing important things. Time goes by, and Arlo observes how his brothers manage to leave their footprints, while he still can't even feed the chickens. To make matters worse, his older brother keeps teasing him for being a good-for-nothing coward. This makes Arlo very sad, so his father, to help him overcome his fears, gives him the task of catching the creature that eats the crops, promising him that if he succeeds, he will also leave his footprints on the stones. So Arlo and Henry prepare a trap, and the little dinosaur keeps watch waiting for the thief to appear. When the creature falls into the trap, Arlo goes to crush it with a stick, and discovers that it is a wild human fool. And then, a little out of fear, and little out of compassion, the greenish animal takes pity on the little boy, leaving him free. When he finds out about the situation, his father gets angry with him, and together they go to chase the boy, with such bad luck that a fierce storm occurs, which causes a great flood that sweeps Henry, at the time that he sacrifices himself to save his son's life.
Bruh.
After the tragedy, the family makes a grave in his honor, and Arlo strives to help his mother with the farm chores, since winter would soon arrive and they could run out of food. So he gathers the corn, and, when he goes to put it in the basket, he finds the furious caveman boy inside. Furious Arlo chases him, because he blames him for his father's death, and they both fall into the river, where the young dinosaur is knocked unconscious after hitting a rock. When Arlo wakes up, he finds himself in the middle of the forest, lost and very scared, so he starts his trip back home, following the path upstream. On this way, the greenish animal must return home on his own, without the help and protection of his family. But, as things don't go well for him, the little savage, like a faithful pet, helps him to survive by bringing him food, and even defending him from a dangerous snake. Seeing his kind gestures, Arlo decides to make a truce with the boy, and together they become traveling companions, so the fearful dinosaur baptizes him with the name Spot. During their adventure, they begin to become friends, and both experience new things, especially Arlo, who learns to swim imitating the little caveman. Later they get hungry, and unknowingly, eat some hallucinogenic mushrooms, getting super stoned. At night, Arlo gets sad. And as the little boy does not understand why, the dinosaur tries to explain to him that he misses his family, especially his deceased father. Spot tells him, in his own way, that his parents also died, and he was orphaned. Knowing this, both are comforted and become much closer. The next day, there is a strong storm, similar to the one that happened when Henry died, and Arlo is so scared that he runs away, losing sight of the river. And after the storm, they are chased by a band of pterodactyls that want to eat them, But fortunately they are saved by a family of kind tyrannosaurs, to whom Arlo asks for help to find the river that would lead them to their farm, but the father of the giant carnivores refuses, because they are looking for the cattle they lost. At that moment, Arlo offers to help them in exchange for them to show them the way to the river. The tyrannosaurs accept the proposal. Then the fearful animal uses Spot's skills as a tracker, who like a hound dog sniffs out the cattle and finds their location. Subsequently, the leader of the tyrannosaurs sends Arlo and Spot to call the attention of the velociraptors that stole the cattle to attack them by surprise. So, begins a fight between the dinosaurs that causes the cattle to stampede. So Arlo takes refuge behind a rock to protect himself. At that moment, he observes how Daddy Tyrannosaurus is being chewed by the bloodthirsty velociraptors, so he gets brave and decides to help him, allowing the gigantic animal to defeat them. With the cattle recovered, they lead the herd to a safe place and build a fire to rest. Here Arlo talks to the tyrannosaurs and tells them that he is a coward who always lives in fear. Then the father Tyrannosaurus mentions that everyone is afraid, so the important thing is not to be defeated by fear, and fight it to overcome it. At dawn, the dinosaur family sends him to herd the cattle, and Arlo courageously performs the task, showing that thanks to what he has experienced on the trip, and the support of his friends, he is gradually overcoming his fears. At that moment, the young dinosaur observes in the distance the mountains where his home is, so along with Spot, he says goodbye to the tyrannosaurs and resumes the way home. On the way, they meet a mysterious old caveman who howls like Spot. So the little boy seeks to approach the old man, but Arlo selfishly prevents him, and both continue the journey. Suddenly, the situation becomes complicated for the travelers, because again there is a storm, and they are stalked again by the group of pterodactyls who capture Spot. When Arlo tries to avoid him, he falls down a hill, getting tangled in some vines and hitting his head. This causes him to have a vision of his dad rescuing him and taking him home. Although, he quickly realizes that it is all an illusion, so the young dinosaur chooses to be brave and go to rescue his friend. Upon hearing this, Henry's vision is proud of him, and before fading away, he congratulates him for facing his fears. Recovered Arlo lets go of the vine and attacks the pterodactyls, causing them to fall into the river to be carried away by the current. However, the problems persist, as Spot is still trapped in the river. And to make matters worse, there is a great flood, like the one that took Henry's life. So Arlo must overcome his greatest fear if he wants to save the life of the little boy. Heroically, the dinosaur jumps into the water to rescue Spot, but they are dragged by the river towards a huge waterfall. Then Arlo desperately swims to where his friend is and protects him from the fall. Thanks to this, both are saved and manage to reach the shore. Then, they reach the dinosaur's farm, when, suddenly they hear again the howl of the old caveman calling the boy, and we see that now, the old man is not alone, but is accompanied by his family. The humans approach them, and Spot begins to sniff them, recognizing them as part of the same species, but he does not want to be separated from his friend, so Arlo, with great pain and courage, takes the boy away from his side to stay with the humans. Thus, both say goodbye crying, and the dinosaur finally arrives home, where he is reunited with his family, and deservedly leaves his footprint next to those of his family in the food basket.